and then me. Um, Let me just make sure everything is good, but we should be on.
All right.
Cool.
So I'm assuming that since there's 4 people in here, that somebody can hear us. So just give us a thumbs up in the comments if you can hear us and we don't sound like garbage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming either can't hear us or we sound like garbage, one or the other. Can't hear us or
No,
we
I
sound
think we're
like
good.
garbage,
I
one
can
or
check
the
it.
other.
Yeah, it sounds all right. All right. Yeah, no, we'll hang out for a minute before we get into the Eternal Castle and just see if anybody will trickle in. And you can check too for yourself for audio, but I think we're good. I pumped it.
I trust it.
All right, cool. I'm gonna bring down this a little bit. All right, sweet. Yeah, I think we're okay. All right, so the Eternal Castle, dude. Um, I put this fucking game. Well, it put me through my paces, and then I put through it through its paces, and it all happened because of you. So,
Yeah, I
um,
hated these
you,
things before. Yeah.
yeah, you came to me with this shit, and you wanted to do a video on it, and I feel in the course of having played it, we discovered basically, you know, nobody's played this fucking game.
Virtually nobody. I think what you just illuminated to me is that we are pretty much the only 2 people who have been playing it in the entire world for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, like we can't get, obviously this isn't like all encompassing perfect data, but just in a cursory search of active players on Steam and the PS4, just to give some background before we like get deeper into this shit. There were like what 66 people with registered PSN accounts that own the game. Um, and there were 2 active players on Steam.
Yeah, and out of those 66 player accounts on PS4, most of the trophies, the rare trophies that I have, I and apparently one other person are the only 2 people to have earned them.
Right. And it's like both it's both a difficulty thing but also a complete scarcity thing. Like this game slipped entirely through the radar. So like what was its initial release date? It was 2019, but when?
It was 20. Geez, I'm not sure. I believe it was September
Okay.
2019.
Right. So okay, that'll it was like in that window where Death Stranding came out. Cuz I
Yeah,
was
pretty much.
yeah, like I was telling you, I vaguely remember seeing a trailer for this game and then sort of never really realizing it was out. Um but I
Oh,
guess
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
January 5th. January 5th, 2019 is when it originally
Oh,
came in.
fuck. Okay, so it just got washed away in the early days of the pandemic then, right?
2019? No, that's a year before.
Okay.
But
Okay,
it,
yeah,
it
January of 2019. You're right. You're right.
but still that's a stiff competition year when you have Control and Death Stranding coming out and overshadowing virtually everything else.
Right. Cuz this is this is not a AAA game. This is basically like a huge homage to like CGA graphic adventure action platformer PC games from the 80s. And it's like it's very animation focused. If you're familiar with the original Prince of Persia, it's basically that kind of thing, or Another World, which you put yourself through and we'll talk about. Um but I guess like how did you find it in 2021? Like where did you come across it?
Okay, so again, like most things, it's kind of a weird way that I found the game. I finished the Death Stranding video. We did our stream. The only game I had kind of lined up next that I wanted to play was Jet: The Far Shore. So I had pre-ordered that one. It just came out today, but so it was roughly 2 or 3 weeks away when I pre-ordered it. So I wanted something to play in the meantime. And the last game I really remember enjoying big time was Ruiner earlier in the year, and that was an indie game as well. So I was waiting for an indie game to come out. The last game I enjoyed was an indie game, so I started looking through the indie game section on the PlayStation Store. And I just sort of stumbled upon this logo. I said, Eternal Castle, what is this? And it was actually the music that kind of hooked the trailer hooked me. The music is badass for this game, and just the very 80s neon colors were my shit. Um, so I just said, what the hell? Let me give it a shot. I'll give it a go. And immediately I was in love with this game. So I think I came into the Discord and I sent you guys a trailer immediately. It was just like, hey, you guys need to play this game. This is the next video for absolute sure. I have no doubts. So that's kind of how I stumbled onto it, the Eternal Castle, and wandered into it. But I had no idea it was going to be as cumbersome and insane as we would find out it would be.
Yeah. No, it's like it's such a weird game to play now because it's like when I got it on Steam in the recommended games, like games that are similar to this game, was Death Stranding. And I thought that was I thought that was super interesting to think of Death Stranding as a cinematic action platformer with like purposefully cumbersome controls. And like that's one of the reasons why I was drawn to the game initially, because I was like, I already get these games. I'm not from that era. Like I was born in 91, but like I was telling you, like I played shit like Avoid the Noid. Like I'm familiar with some of this stuff. Prince of Persia, like some of these games, ports of some of these games. So like I didn't have as big a barrier to get over with the controls, but there was something like about this is a very pure game that is meant to look good, while being like it's not responsive, but this game is playable. I think some people will find it completely obtuse and not ever really jive with the controls, but that's like a big part of the meta of this game, which is also like if you're into that shit, this is a really fun little thing to look at. Because the whole thing, you're going to have to explain to people, like the whole thing is marketed as a remake. Like even the title of the game is Remastered Edition, right? Like it's the Eternal Castle Remastered.
It's the Eternal Castle Remastered. I guess maybe that was the other thing that drew me to, is as a remaster of a game from 1987. And I've always been somebody who brags that I was born in the greatest year ever of 1987.
Yeah.
It's the year of Predator and RoboCop and Running Man, and that's all you need to know.
Right.
But the fact that it was 1987 was what drew me to it too. But it's as far as we know, there was no game that was released.
I mean, if you look now, that's where basically every article says that it's a game based on a remake of a game that never existed, and because there was no.
But then we were able to get our hands on a copy of the box for the original game on eBay.
Well, and this is like this is one of those things where normally I was there, so I have more insight, but now I don't, so I can only tell you what I found in like my loose research. This wasn't like an ARG exactly, as much as it was just sort of built into the design of the game and the aesthetics of the game, because there is a file on archive.org that is the supposed ROM or whatever for the original game, and I believe it was put there by the developers of this game, and you can download it and it asks for disc 2, and there is no disc 2. So they, like hoax or no hoax, it's wrapped into the the overall meta and aesthetic of the Eternal Castle. And like you just got the art book and user manual, which like it's not it's not sold in stores, it's not on Amazon, it's on Lulu, which is like a print on demand service, which to me is kind of cool. Like it shows how small this like group of people is, and what they're like what they're capable of doing and what their means are and stuff. And it's like it's obviously a very intimate project that had a lot of passion behind it. But like that art book is fucking sick. I have the digital copy. How's the physical copy?
It's awesome, dude. It's almost like a graphic novel unto itself with the way that it goes through the entire game and the way that the panels are laid out. The colors are exactly the same as the game. It's gorgeous. So I'm super stoked that just showed up today too. I'm super stoked I got that. The back does have like all the concept art for the weapons, some of the level design, and some of the enemies that you go against because it's all pixel art. So it's not really detailed. I actually ran into the same thing with Parasite Eve
Yeah.
because the PS1 graphics didn't give details of some of the enemies. When you actually see the concept art, you went, "Oh shit, that's what that was supposed to be." But it just illuminates how much work went into it and thought went behind a lot of these designs.
Well, and that was okay. So looking at that stuff, one of the coolest things was how so much of the game was just drawn by hand, and then just they did the animation and everything over top of the, hand drawings. And there's pictures of this in the um, user manual. Actually,
Oh yeah,
if you want to, if I don't know, but is it like we can probably show a little bit of it, right? He's made some of it public. It's some of it's available on the Discord.
I mean the content cops aren't here. I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, I'll pull it up on another window, but it's just interesting to see because this is the kind of stuff that we do. Um, we like to put together these little documents of stuff sometimes. And they don't necessarily ever have anywhere to go, they do sort of sit in places where you're like, oh, that could be useful for this or that. And, it's interesting how a lot of this game, like, you could just buy it for the $10 on Steam and play it and not get it, through more than a couple of runs or whatever and put it away. But like if you go looking for stuff, I was kind of shocked at how much depth there really is here. Let
I
me set this up.
few games where the I'm not usually a trophy hunter, but this is one of those few ones where the trophies that I had laid out, the specific objectives that really make you push yourself or try different ways to beat levels because uh, just like the way I found this game, I stumbled ass backwards into some of the trophies my first run just because of the way that this game relies on narrative logic so much for the player to just sort of infer things. So there's I'll just give one example. There is a trophy called I think it's called the Lovers, where if
Yeah.
you there's a level where there's two monsters in this boss fight, and if you kill both of them, you get this trophy. Now, you don't need to kill both of them to win the boss fight, but because of my my dumbass grug gamer logic, I went, oh, I must need to kill everything for me to actually win this fight. So I got the trophy, but it was just completely incidental. Had I known I only needed to kill one of them, I would have just done that. So
Yeah. Well, and what's really interesting, so that is like okay, that's a huge mechanic in this game, right? Is that there's so many different ways to do every piece of the game. Like I remember you asking me like how do you do a straight up um run for the speedrun achievement? Like how do you do this in under 300 moments, which is like it's like around 30 minutes or something. Um it's n- it's
300.
it's quick.
See, no, I thought 300 moments was only 5 minutes in there. Like, I thought I was going by seconds logic.
Maybe I'm wrong here, but that can't be possible because the speed run is like 20-30 minutes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking because well, I did get the trophy for
So
speed run,
yeah,
but
but
as I
but I was gonna say
shoot,
it's about 30 minutes or so.
okay,
Yeah, it has to be because if the world record speed run is like 23 minutes, there's no way it's 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to check through my footage of when I've died in an awake run, like from the beginning. Because I just tried sacrifice, and I did die, but I think that
I
said I was.
I think that measurement for those is different than the one that's on the clock. I think
I'm,
there's a
I'm
decimal point.
I
No,
know this is really
what?
when
You cut out there for a second. What were you saying?
I said I know this is devolving into an obtuse conversation when we're talking about terminology that you guys have no clue about. So
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. You're right, but at the same time, that like that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is that there's so many different ways to do things, and there's so much depth to this game that it's very deceptive. Um, and I'm not going to sit here and say there's a right way or a wrong way to market anything, but I do understand that like this game this game is absolutely not going to be for for everybody. This is for people who are into something that's a little bit more of a challenge and also pretty strange. Cuz we haven't even touched on, the actual, look and goings on in the game, and the meditation components, the combat. Like there's it's only 4 stages really, not counting the prologue. And really a handful of boss fights, and it's the type of thing where I feel like I've had runs that are light and breezy and you feel like electric, like it recreates that feeling of those old games, and how when you felt like you succeeded in the game, you had actually, there was a sense of real accomplishment there because of the difficulty threshold. Um, I mean, it's like it's really nuts, man. And I think it'll go. I don't really know what the legacy or what'll happen with this little game.
I have no idea, man. It's such an obscure. I think maybe that's the other reason I chose it too. Is that it is such an obscure title that
Did you
you know
know?
I
Did you know that when you found it?
uh I mean I had never heard of this game ever before. So not that I know of every single game that comes out, but I just had knew from the look though it was definitely something that was not not AAA, probably made by just a few people. But that kind of was, like you said, it's kind of a small group like us. So I think that that combined with its weirdness, the era that it's from, the fact that it is an indie game, and that the trailer is. Is there any way that we can pull up the trailer for this game? Because
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
that that's a great selling point for this. It's a pretty action packed looking trailer for a pixel game, which is what really shocked me.
I do also like it. I feel bad because I can tell. Um, it seemed like there was a PS4 release that you and I both looked into, like a physical release from hard copy games that we both looked into, that there's not a lot of like evidence of. Um,
Well, there seems to be issues with physical things around this game in general. I just saw uh, there's still issues with with
the
the actual,
vinyl. Yeah.
yeah, those being shipped out. So uh, and I know that's not even the developers. That's not their fault. That's who they decided to partner with, and them not doing the deed. Uh, so I don't know what's going on with that. I would absolutely love to get a physical copy of this game. I usually games like this, especially indie games, I got a physical copy of Ruiner. I just bought, like you said, the user guide and art book for this. I'd love to have a physical copy of Eternal Castle.
And it's part of it is a sales thing, but like I just don't. Part of the thing that makes me sad about this game is, I got the platinum for this game. I put a lot of time and effort into this game, and I just don't like. I know the creator of this has another game coming out and everything, and it's with Devolver, so it has a lot of support. Um, you know what I mean? Like they'll give that game some love, but like I I, I just don't feel like this one will get like any of that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I don't know who this ends up being for at the end of the day. Besides people like us, cuz I it's actually very strange to know, you're part of such a small cohort of people that have put any amount of time into a game like this.
And for somebody like myself that does have, a semi, somewhat of a platform to at least voice my opinion on these things, I think that's why I need to make a video about the Eternal Castle, because
Are
nobody else.
are you planning on trying like that's a question I really have about the video is are you planning on is the best thing to do to try to sell the game? Not that
Yeah,
like yeah, I mean that's what it seems like cuz it's just I
I
want
think
people to play it, you know? That's all I can really say.
it's strange though. I think this is one of those games though that I may have to break some of the secrets of the Eternal Castle to sell the game though, to show how deep this shit is, because I don't think that people will push. I think that there's a lot of people that, I don't want to say a lot of people, the few people that have played this game, clearly they've only pushed past one run. There's not a lot that are trying to go, and the message after, I'm just going to tell you guys, the message after your first run in the credits is never stop, keep on going, and you have to do that. You have to
Yeah.
follow with.
Well, and
Um,
I think this is a game for the people that have taken it the furthest of the speedrunners but there just aren't that many of them. And if there's anybody looking for a game to run, like this is one of them. But on the never stop note, like it's the in his Discord, the developer has basically said that the more runs you do, the more like nuts the game will get because of the procedural generation. So like
mhm.
they don't even, nobody knows what's after I think 5 or 6 runs. I think 5 runs is like the top in the whole world. So like, you know, if anybody's bored and looking for something to really try to like dip into, um, it just came out on Switch. It's on PS4. It's on Steam, and like, it's fucking wild. I still really want you to play Sacrifice because there's a whole other game mode in it too. If you don't like the main game, just play the other
What,
game mode.
Duel?
No, well, I've played Duel. Duel is I would be cooler if you have 2 people, which is a whole other
Yeah.
discussion of trying to play this with 2 people.
Oh my God, yeah, Duel would be amazing. That'd be the greatest two-player combat game. But
I
yeah,
mean,
I did start playing Sacrifice earlier. I am going to play Sacrifice because, yeah, it is exactly like you said. It's very different. It's more combat based than.
it's combat puzzles. Like it's very if it's I said it's kind of like side-scrolling Hotline Miami. Um,
Yeah, it is definitely.
yeah, especially Hotline Miami 2, where there's a little bit more of like the shooting down hallways and through windows shit. But like, I really enjoyed the alternative mode of and the like, you know, I like STGs. I like the it felt like yet another good addition to something that is already like a very complete montage to the 80s. Because we haven't even talked about this, but I know you were tickled by the old boy reference. Um, I know you were like I getting the Maverick achievement actually requires you to be Tom Cruise. Like there's some shit in this fucking if you want to platinum this game up, some people might find it very easy. Um I didn't, you know? Like I'm old. I had to like dust off my reflexes for parts of this shit. Um but that's one of the things. That's partially why I understand why it was recommended along with Death Stranding because it has a similar feel to it where you've got to remember, oh yeah, the controls. They're not like all the other controls.
Yeah, that is true. That's very true. This is a very niche in a lot of ways. And
Um,
speaking of, well, I think that's a good segue to talk about one of the games that definitely inspired it, though, that I've been banging my fucking head against the wall
yeah, I wanted
playing.
to hear about this. You talk about
So,
another world.
so yeah, Another World, everybody seems to draw that comparison. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that one. It's a game from 1991. That's basically the original cinematic platformer adventure game. Uh, Another World is a lot less forgiving than the Eternal Castle. Another World is one hit insta kills, and it does not get, in terms of narrative logic, I'm not dumb, but I am not the level of smart that you need to be to get through some of the shit that happens in Another World. And to top that off with its puzzles, the combat is very basic but frustrating as all hell. I got to Another World broke me. I kid you not. Both these games are very much based on, trying to challenge yourself, pushing yourself even further than you've gone before. But it's very much trial and error. And I think that Another World is more trial and error than Eternal Castle. Is this my footage, or what is this?
I'm playing this. I just pulled up a long play, and we'll credit
Oh,
it when you're done. But I wanted people to be able to see Another World for comparison to see the kind of thread here,
I
because
just wasn't sure if I was
yeah.
going to see that I experienced in this portion of the game as well. But
Um, but yeah,
I
that was from AL82 Retro Gaming Long Plays, and yeah, that's actually Amiga footage. Um, so it's these games are made to look good. Like that is the express point of the cinematic action platformer. Like this is they would use rotoscoping and like it was about animation techniques and shit. But Another World looks like it's not that doesn't look like my cup of tea, man.
oh, it's and it got to the point where if I got more than halfway through the game, and I just reached a breaking point where I almost crushed my controller in my hands. And if I had beaten the game, it would have just been out of spite at that point, and I don't want to start playing games
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
So I decided to hang that up, but it was good to play it. It was good to play it in terms of a comparison sense, though, because there are definitely a few portions in Eternal Castle that are straight from Another World. Some of the design you see, and just the way that I don't know, I guess you can definitely see that the conceptual design came from Another World, and most likely Prince of Persia.
Well,
I do.
definitely Prince of Persia, because a lot of the jump animation, a lot of the animations are so similar to Prince of Persia that if you had played it before this, it would be second nature to you.
but in the very many ways that it's similar to those games, it is very different in its own right. And I think that's what sets it apart and why we enjoyed it so much, because of those differences, like not having one hit fucking death,
Do you
having a health
do you want to
balance.
talk about the death mechanic and how the kind of loop of the game works? Because the game is only about the game. I mean, the game really is about an hour, like maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Um, but you essentially do your first run in a dream, and upon completing that run, you wake up. Right?
Yes.
That's essentially the gist. And yeah, unlike Another World where it's one hit kill, once you're in that awake state, uh, if you die, that's it. Basically, that whole sequence is blown. You cannot you revive from a checkpoint or anything. You have to start fresh.
Now, now here's the interesting thing that happened with this mechanic after the first run, because you played it on PC, right, Max?
Right. I played on PC. You played on.
I played on PS4.
Okay.
So, so after the first run on PS4, there's an option to go back to the main menu where you can choose to continue. Now, once I did that, it started me from before the final boss at the checkpoint there. So I thought, okay, maybe it just saved at that spot. I can play the final boss again, just for shits and giggles. But it also spawned an extra character along with me, which I think that might have been a glitch. We're not sure.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this game. There's a lot of things, weirdness to it, where you're not sure if parts are glitches or if they're part of the design or not. But that's a whole nother discussion. But getting back to this, what happened, I beat the boss a second time and got a different ending. And I also got a trophy for completing a second run, and for speed run, and for
Completionist probably.
yeah, completionist as
Yeah.
well. So a bunch of different trophies for it. And so I was perplexed because you would assume that a run would be starting from the very beginning of the game again, all the way through to the end.
Which it is typically, but you somehow got through and had it count as an awake run, but set
Yeah,
yourself at the end at the last fight and beat it
yeah.
without dying, so it counted.
So that's how I got the speed run trophy and all these other ones. I did it a third time just to test it, and I got the trophy for doing a third run as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I just sort of found kind of broke the game and found a weird glitch in that's only on PS4 because after I did it, I showed Max
Yeah.
how to do the thing, and you tried it, and you
No,
weren't able to do it on PC.
no.
Where
Yeah, and as far as I am able to figure out, and I'm not an expert on any of this, but it seems like it's a save state thing because there's a save state involved at the with the game ending and then reloading into an awake run. But yeah, when you have to do it straight up from the beginning to the end, the awake run is a bit of a challenge because basically it requires you to, learn the maps, learn all the locations of all the things, and then the maps all change. Like the procedural generation switches tiles around, it speeds up and slows down things. Like I've seen a lot in my experience just because I have so many playthroughs at this point. Um, and it really it's really interesting. Like that's why I think this game is really open for speedrunners because it will be a challenge because there's a little bit of variation to it, but not enough I think to be, you know, totally run breaking all the time. And I like as weird as it sounds, I 23 minutes sounds fast as hell, but I guarantee there's somebody out there sweaty enough to get sub 20. And I only say that cuz the amount of things you can like like you're saying there's a lot of glitches that seems like they might be features. There's a lot of that in the movement and combat as well. And that's just another kind of like nod to that era. Um Back then you couldn't patch things really. You couldn't like unless you were going to issue an expansion of some kind down the road that was going to fix things in the base game. Once you put a game out, that was it. And if there was a bug in it, that bug was in there, and somebody would, eventually wrote it down on the internet. And what's crazy though is that really there's not much. There's not much on the internet about this game. There's not many guides. There's not many. There's not much footage on YouTube.
there's not
So
many at
yeah,
all. In fact, you have to go digging through Reddit AMAs and random posts from Twitter and all sorts of crap just to get any sort of input on that.
which sucks. But it was also kind of nice. Like, how often do you come across something in this, you know, era of connectivity where it's not part of a community that already exists? Um,
That
I'm
is
I'm sure there is a subreddit, but it's not active. The Discord's not very active. And it's not a game from 1987. It's a game from 2019. Like this, this could be the type of thing where if there's somebody who really falls in love with this, you can have some kind of community ownership over it that you can't have in other places that have already been subsumed by, multiple thousands of people. Because that can be shitty. Um, but this is like kind of quiet. Even on Steam, not many, not much. I'd have to check again, but I'd assume the reviews are pretty much people who kind of get what it is, so it probably isn't too poorly reviewed.
yeah. But I
Um,
mean, also I think that we're going to slowly see more of these types of games come out. I just stumbled onto another one earlier today that I'm going to check out called Narita Boy, which I think I described to you. I said it looks like Tron meets Dead Cells and Cuphead. So, so you have that coming out, which is, and that got recommended to me because of Eternal Castle. Then you have the Lenderman Shari working on his next game, Trek to Yomi,
yeah,
which
is
looks
there a
like another.
trailer or anything for that?
I think that there is a teaser trailer for Trek to Yomi. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'll send it to you.
I got it. Yeah, this is from Devolver, is the publisher. Because I'll just put it up without sound so we can see. But yeah, this is from Devolver, which is I was very happy to see support. Because I feel like if Eternal Castle isn't a game that gets attention from an audience, it should get attention from the industry, and it seems like maybe that has happened. So that's great. Let's
Well,
put
you
this
know,
on the background.
while we're talking about his other work, I did go through his catalog of work too. He did another, and Minshari seems very much a dude who's about innovation and concept more than anything else in his work.
Yeah,
He did a game called Riot Civil Unrest, which is literally about playing a riot.
it's like an RTS with a riot as the riot.
And then he made an interactive short YouTube film called Neo Dusk, which you guys should check out. It's a pretty cool. It's a cool concept. I know you guys have seen at the end of YouTube videos. They usually have two. You can set it up where you have like two video links at the end of a video. So what he did was, there's the first video for Neo Dusk, but then at the end of each video, you have two options of which direction the character can go. And based on those, I think there's 12 different endings that you can get with this. So the I haven't even. I know there's been interactive films, but to that scope and level, it's just really insane to see some of the things that he's made before.
Yeah, and it's clear that this is the type of person who either doesn't want to be or hasn't gotten to be part of the larger bigger industry and has just made the best of it. And this is the kind of shit that you really do want to drag into the light and point out to people because so much work goes into it. And like, you know, I have a feeling this I have a look just looking at that trailer again, that game's going to fucking what is it, Trek to Yomi? That game's going to slap, dude. That game's nuts looking.
Yeah, Trek to Yomi looks really good. I'm laughing at this comment that just came in. I mean, dude,
Maybe.
my channel is here because I make things that I want to make. It's not really to be a brand. People come along, they stay if they want to stay. What if you really want to know what probably has stymied a lot of things, it's the fact that I said I'm not going to be doing any more Metal Gear videos.
Yeah.
Uh, Large portion of my subscribership came from the Metal Gear Solid 2 as a masterpiece video, the MGS3 vid, and probably my MGS1 and original Death Stranding video. I've said multiple times I'm not going to be doing an MGS4 or 5 video. I don't go back and do those. So that has kind of, that kind of stifles things. So I'm doing weirder, more obscure things that I enjoy, but that, may not get as much attention as doing Kojima stuff. So, say la vie. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean there's on that front, like there's a lot of space in that community for plenty of people. You know what I mean? Like people come and go from the Kojima community all the time and they add their piece and then head out, and it's they're it's receptive to that kind of thing. Like there's a new Discord that just is fucking cracked wide open and they doubled in size yesterday. There's always new podcasts and new people, so um it's honestly like it'll always be around. It'll always be somebody to do that shit.
And no problem at all, guys. I'm always here to answer questions. I'm pretty much an open book. Like I said, I'm not going to shut you down for asking me, hey, what's going on around here.
And
I keep you guys on your toes. In fact, speaking of this, I just I just redid all my thumbnails because as I learn more techniques and stuff, I like to change things up. And I had a lot of people asking me, why did I change the thumbnail on MGS2? So I actually changed that back because people seem to like the original one. So I do listen to you guys too, but sometimes when you're redecorating the house, you redecorate everything, and sometimes you just need to leave some rooms alone.
I was gonna say on that front too, because you know what, it's like actually a good opportunity to talk about some of this stuff. But this is like the YouTube channel is kind of one thing you've got going on, and you've been working with us a lot, and like we've spent 6 months behind the scenes of this channel doing a comic book that like is still sort of under lock and key. And so it's like there are definitely people, which I understand. I would never get on anybody's back about like having a good brand and like generating clout and stuff, especially online. Like it's the fucking internet. That's more than half of the internet is if you're on here to do shit, you should be generating clout and having a good brand. But then there are like, there are people like us that just that we have some stuff we're passionate about, and we do some shit, and um it's a different road. It's a different road to walk. Like
Yeah,
if we were capable of being like, like if it was the type of thing where we wanted to grind out videos and have the channel pop off, I think we would be oriented toward that. But there's a lot of other things that like we, at least like, I don't want to speak for you, but you've done other shit in the meantime as well. And eventually it'll come to the surface, and people will either respond to it or they won't, but that's making shit on the internet.
that's true. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's kind of a weird place to jump off from there.
No, it's good. I feel like you can there's actually a that's like a good this is a good point to just bifurcate the whole thing, cuz you don't want to give too much away, and I feel like we did a good chunk on the Eternal Castle, but um I don't mind going off on a couple of tangents. We're like 45 minutes deep. We'll keep it, around an hour like usual. And it is something to think about though, man, cuz um you're like I don't like the necessarily the word the rebrand, but it's a word. But you are like you are like rebranded and like pretty solid now with Paper Starship. You've got a lot of shit in the pipe past this Eternal Castle like video, and I don't know.
I and I guess I'll reveal a little bit of the weirdness that goes on in my brain sometimes. Is that uh, I'm the kid that when you tell me, hey, stop doing that, that's annoying, I'll do it more. So so I remember originally when I rebranded of Redux Visions, people were like, what happened to Fragile Bridges? I want Fragile Bridges back. So then I changed it again, and it almost got to a point where I said, it's going to be funny when this channel gets to the point that I've changed the name so many times that people just wonder who the hell made what on this channel.
Right.
So, I mean, and my name's in every single video, so there's no mystery of who made everything. But I get where you guys are coming from too. But I think that it's a weird space to be in YouTube sometimes, and to be stuck with an avatar with a specific name. So Paper Starship. That's just the name of the channel now. That's not a moniker for myself, and I think that's kind of why some of the name changes happened too. Because originally when I met with you guys, I was Fragile Bridges, and I couldn't be having you guys walking around calling me fragile all the time.
Yeah.
So, so I changed to Redux Visions, and you guys still call me Redux. Redux is basically my nickname at this point. But I even changed the name from that, and that was mainly because I went through a weird period when I did the No Man's Sky video after Ruiner, where I got really back into the whole existentialism of space and everything. So I was like, yeah, Paper Starship, man, that's the name. But it stuck. It was a good one to go with, and I still like it. I think it's a good vehicle for everything.
Well, and I mean, now that we're kind of like in the back end here, either this will be split into two videos or nobody will see this part. Um, no, like for real, you caught you caught a big break, like you said, with the MGS2 video, and you got um I think you got the right amount of attention from it, view wise and sub wise, because it's a great video. And the the reality is that um you know like in that time period, a bunch of shit went down in the world. That if you know what I mean, like a ton of crap happened in the world, and a lot of people that weren't used to being inside and online all the time had to be inside and online all the time. And like there is there is like a reality to that, like not everybody wants to be in the community of the things that they like, you know like as much
Yeah.
as I like Metal Gear, I don't choose to be a part of the community. I don't choose to be on the subreddits or in any of the streams. I just don't choose to engage with it,
Well,
um
weirdly enough, I'm basically persona non grata to a degree in a lot of Metal Gear communities, and not that like I'm banned from them or anything, not that degree, but just my views do not mesh with a lot of the Metal Gear community, and so I couldn't even if I wanted to be a part of that community, it would be very difficult because I bring up a lot of things that people do not want to talk about or that they just do not want to engage with.
yeah,
So
for
also there,
for
I mean,
sure.
throw this out here. There is the David Hayter thing that happened that really just people did
You don't
people
go,
didn't.
dude. You don't go at David Hayter apparently.
Yeah, for those of you wondering, I said David Hayter kind of looked like Ricky Gervais, and he didn't like it, and he called me a dipshit, blocked me on
Yeah,
Twitter,
yeah,
and people thought I was the asshole. So there you go.
yeah. Well, and I mean, like that's whatever. I don't really give. See, I don't really give a shit one way or another. But what I will say about the whole thing of online communities is, there are for ones that are that big and that international, it's generally anarchy. Um, and
Yeah,
that's something that there's actually an opt in to it. You can opt into the anarchy. You can opt out of the anarchy. And I think that what I think is that, like, the uh you know you have that video. It's got what, like 400,000 fucking views, and obviously people thought it was good. And I think there's a lot of wounds. Like I've been around Metal Gear for most of my life, so I know. But like, there's been a lot of wounds of different content creators coming and going, or quote unquote leaving or betraying the community at times. And it's like, that kind of level of ownership is like a sign that something's probably not good. And I've seen other people walk away from shit and be happier for it, because it's kind of like, if you're gonna make anything and you're gonna put it out for other people, and you're gonna do it mainly like for no intention of making a bunch of money, or you know what I mean, like,
yeah.
y- you kind of just have to do you have to do what you want to do, or you're not gonna do it for long.
No, I'm not gonna say this. This is the most heel turn thing I will ever say on this channel, but because people have been asking me, like, why don't you make another Metal Gear video? I said, you know what? Pay me. I'll make another Metal Gear video.
That's actually fair, dude.
Yeah. Uh,
Or like at 10K, make another Metal Gear video. Like that, I think that kind of relationship is fair, as long as it's forward. Like, as long as you're, dude, because honesty is in, like, sincerity is in, irony is out. As long as you're willing to say, pay me and I'll do it. Fuck yeah, then do it when you get paid.
yeah. And my rationale behind that is that I don't get paid to do any of this. I think we discussed this last time. My channel isn't monetized, despite there being ads on it. That's YouTube's whole ploy to get you to buy premium, and I'm going to get banned for that. But that's YouTube's whole ploy to get you to buy premium. That's why there's ads on every single video. Even
Yeah.
I even watch ads on my own vids. So we just make this because we want to do it. But and that's kind of the hope behind a channel like this too, is you want to be able to make videos for a living and make things that people enjoy, and do that for a living, as opposed to busting your ass serving tables all day and then coming home and trying to do this for fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that being honest, that's kind of where it comes to is, there are certain things that uh, I would take on if I was paid to do it because it's a lot of work to do this stuff. I think we talked about this a lot, that content creation isn't just a snap of the finger thing. It's time and effort and energy and all that, and more sometimes.
Yeah. This is definitely why I'm uh whoever like whoever's in running that Kojima Archive Discord, big ups to them because they put a lot of effort into it and a little tiny bit of money. But it's good to see a burgeoning Metal Gear community that is somewhat independent from existing Metal Gear communities kind of appear because it's my understanding there are probably a lot of people who sort of feel like they don't know where to go anymore. There's a lot of, you know, conversations that people don't necessarily give a shit about, and I do think like, you look at things like Evangelion, right? Like the Evangelion subreddit is literally just nonstop posts about shipping and um, you know, which characters belong with which characters and just bottom of the barrel scraping memes and stuff. And a person like me, I don't want anything to do to do with that shit. And
Yeah.
so like a more robust community hopefully, would form in a similar thing like that. So it's good to see it with Kojima and to see all the different communities be represented and not just Metal Gear. Because there's a strong Boktai community, there's a strong Zone of Enders community, and they are sort of just out there, not really part of the club. Um, and it sucks, but it is what it is.
Can we address since we're going down this route, I have an interesting one. Should Kojima be considered part of the Silent Hill community?
I mean, now with the amount of people that just screech Silent Hill at him on social media, yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, if you've gotten to the point where under every one of your posts that's vaguely about anything possibly related to PT or Silent Hill, there's at least 4 or 5 people who are like, Silent Hills, make it. Like, I, you know, at, the, at this point, nobody should be sadder than the Silent Hill community because they've just been fucked more than anybody. They really have. They've been fucked harder than anybody.
Dude, yeah, the blue box shit too. The delay of the delay for the delay of the app that got delayed.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about the whole abandoned thing, but it's huge.
That's
It's huge news at this point because it's been written about everywhere. But like, yeah, no, there to some extent, this idea, this is why like sincerity is in, irony is out. The chasing the dream of Kojima somehow gets these titles. Just let it happen. If it's gonna happen, let it happen. Don't get worked up. Um, Wait, be patient, enjoy what you have, enjoy the time you got. that's that's probably the lesson, regardless of anybody's opinion. We should have collectively all learned over the last 2 years is just enjoy what you got while you got it. But like, fuck, man, the stuff with Silent Hill and Kojima is wild, Because if it ever did happen, I don't even think I would. One, I don't know if I would believe it, but two, I don't know. I don't even know if I would play it.
yeah.
Because I just can't imagine the community that pops up around that shit.
Oh God.
And
Ugh.
not because I have any scorn for the people that care
Oh
about
no,
that, but
no.
but like,
It's a wild community already. So yeah, anything new would just, people's heads would explode.
yeah. And this is a personal line, okay? Like I don't want to make general sweeping statements about any groups of people. What I like really need to say in regard to like Silent Hill, Kojima, Abandon, all that shit is basically like you do what is, fun and delightful until you feel like you're going fucking crazy. Yeah, and Harlem's right. People need to learn about Siren. But yeah, do what you feel like is fun and delightful until you feel like you've lost your fucking mind and then take a break, dude. Like if you're up late at night reading Reddit posts about the blue box mystery or whatever, just take a fucking break. And I'm only saying that because like it's different for every person. There's a line somewhere for every person. But some people really take that shit way too seriously. Cuz I mean, we're I don't know. My opinion is that everything related to any Hideo Kojima ruse needs to, have breaks heavily put on it after the release of Death Stranding because he was super honest about what it was.
Yeah, that's very true.
That was like
Well,
I've said that was his greatest the greatest lie he ever told was the truth.
I don't know. I think that we would you say that you reached your breaking point on Death Stranding?
I mean if somebody wanted to ask me about Death Stranding, I mean would be happy to field, questions only because like I would probably have an answer having put the time into it. Like I don't know, man, probably
I
300
I
hours between
I
PS4 and Steam. Like I'd
I,
I'd I'd help out.
only in terms of breaking point. I mean, just in terms of getting to a point where it was no longer fun anymore.
No, I mean, it's not that it's not fun.
Mhm.
It's like a book you've read that you really enjoy.
You,
You can put it down and just be happy that you know about it and you can go back to it later. It's a book. It's like a book that's collecting dust on my shelf right now and I'll come back to it one day.
there you go. All right, fair enough.
Yeah. I could pick it up right now and it would feel like I never left probably,
Yeah.
but I don't have any desire to. I am curious about how the new mediation of the director's cut is going to change people's opinion of the overall narrative of the game because the director's cut fundamentally changes both the game design and the direction of the narration. So I think that we're going to see a divide in perception of the actual game's narrative, which I can't be held accountable for. Like my interpretations are based on the original version alone. I
Like what?
Nothing I say applies to the director's cut because the director's cut gives you information about things very early, and that does change that remediates your perception of the entire narrative.
Well, I mean, the biggest difference is no Monster Energy. So
Well, no Monster Energy, but also like you know, I won't do spoilers. I'll be respectful, but you're given key information earlier in the game than you would typically receive it. I'll put it that way. And that will fundamentally change your interpretation of events later in the game if you've never experienced them other than in director's cut. So there is like that is it for the people who are involved in any Death Stranding community. There's your ticking time bomb in your community. You have two groups now, and two groups with two distinct understandings of the same video game, and you're gonna have to rectify that somehow.
well, I think it's fitting that we circled back to Death Stranding, considering that Eternal Castle was compared to it anyway. So that's
The,
it's a good,
you
good way
know,
to.
yeah. There's a video there. Um, I don't know if you'd make it. I don't know if I'd make it, but there's definitely, and this is the best place to leave off. There is a video comparing Eternal Castle and 80s adventure games to Death Stranding. And it's not just a video that has to take place in the digital by comparing the games. It's the world Hideo Kojima grew up in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he played those games. So there's a lineage even in the design understanding. Like he was around for all that. Now I'd have to that would involve looking into the Japanese side of this, which I can only imagine is bonkers, dude. Um
It's probably very walled off.
well, like if you think about how the you know like the basic function of a lot of these games is the controls are kind of clunky, and then you apply the label of like also a Japanese developer made it. It's gonna be like hell, I'd imagine, if there's anything to compare at all. Because I don't even know if this genre existed in Japan at the same time. I assume it did, but because there's still like there's point and click, there's still crossover, but certain things were popular and certain things weren't. I guess is what I'm getting at.
I mean, even Disney, what Gradius was. When did Gradius come out?
It was like mid to late 80s.
Yeah, so I mean, even that, those types of games, like the STG section that you told me about at the end of Sacrifice, stuff like that, though. Like,
See, that's yeah. I wonder if that would be the the Japanese equivalent would be like STGs because they really are cinematic sometimes before they're even games.
yeah.
Like sometimes they're sort of conceived as like an anime, then they just make it into a game.
By the way, there really should be an over-the-shoulder jet fighter game. I just saw some
Oh,
older.
the GoPro footage.
Oh yeah, dude, that'd be so cool. They look so awesome.
Yeah, in cockpit jet fighter game would be pretty tight. There aren't enough of those like arcade style competitive games anymore where you just
Yeah,
do a thing. I
just
think
fun.
I think we'll get a resurgence. The weird games are coming because the Steam Deck and all these little handheld computers are going to they're going to force the development of weird shit like that because it's
Yeah, maybe,
basically going to be like kids standing next to each other who want to play weird shit, and it'll be available on Steam.
maybe that's a discussion for another day. That
Yeah.
I think that the the concept of the cinematic experience for games is beginning to fade away, and games are turning back into games.
Damn, actually that is a great conversation to have because I already have a response to that, which is I think it's because there's an erosion of the understanding of cinematic language in the first place. You know what I mean? Like the fact that movies have gotten so simple and easy to break down and easy to understand, and that the very like language of what a movie is now so basic. There's no point to have cinematic shit in your video game because people just skip the cutscenes anyway.
That's true, but I mean, it's even interesting now that I talk about a lot about it in my Death Stranding video about the movies that Kojima borrows from. But now you have people analyzing even the specific shots that he uses that he borrows from certain directors and things like that. So I feel like Death Stranding might be the last hurrah for a cinematic experience.
It felt like that's something that I think in the future people will reference Death Stranding. Like it felt like the end of an era playing that game.
Yeah,
And I didn't know why it would then. And then, then COVID happened and then the industry sort of stalled for a minute and a bunch of games got pushed back and like everything was sort of on pause and it like I remember playing it in November and like if there's anything you'll never be able to communicate now, it's what it was like to play that game on release. But yeah, it felt like the end of an era because of how cinematic and how well animated and realistic and immersive everything felt, you know.
yeah, that was a game that you definitely, you play with the lights off and you just sit and enjoy it, and it's like watching a movie basically.
I, and
That's,
this is I know we're trying to wrap up here, but I feel similarly about Eternal Castle. Like playing it, it felt like a statement about something. Like I don't know, the wasteland, the playing as a part of an AI that's just kind of doomed to run this loop forever until you do it right.
it's
Like
got an era. It's a like I think you've said it. It's not a remake of a game.
yeah,
It's a of that era though,
yeah,
because especially like the Forgotten City, the vibes I got from that area were a boy and his dog, gray digital target,
yeah,
Harlan, and post-apocalyptic wasteland type stuff.
yeah,
And that's all 80s aesthetic and vibe, and it's just so evocative of all those things.
yeah, dude. All right, well, good talk. I'm gonna get us out of here. Um,
For
hold on, you are gonna be muted. You're